I pretended to be broke for 15 years while secretly building a $5 billion empire. Now my family wants a piece, but it's too late. The invitation to the annual Sullivan family reunion sat on my desk, its gold embossed lettering catching the morning light streaming through my penthouse windows. 15 years of carefully maintained deception were about to end. And oddly enough, it wasn't even my choice. I picked up my phone and reread the email that had triggered everything. Forbes 30 under 40, the new face of digital art. Sophia Sullivan's NFT empire reaches $3.8 billion valuation. The article would be published tomorrow, just 2 days before the family reunion. My carefully constructed facade was about to shatter, and there was nothing I could do about it. Ms. Sullivan, my assistant's voice came through the intercom. Your brother Marcus is on line 1, again. Of course he was. He'd been calling non-stop since the press release went out to major publications. I took a deep breath and picked up the phone. Hello Marcus. What the hell, Sophia? He didn't bother with pleasantries. I just got a call from Business Insider asking for a comment about my billionaire sister. Want to explain that? I leaned back in my chair, looking out at the Manhattan skyline. I guess you'll have to wait for the article like everyone else. Cut the crap, he snapped. All these years you've been letting us think you were barely getting by. Mom and Dad have been worried sick about you. I couldn't help but laugh. Worried, is that what you call it? The constant lectures about getting a real job? The snide comments about how I'm wasting my potential? They were trying to help. No, they were trying to control me, just like they tried to control you and you let them. Silence fell on the other end of the line. Marcus had always been the good child, following our parents' carefully planned path. Business school, MBA, joining our father's investment firm. The golden son who never strayed from the script. Just tell me one thing, he finally said. How long have you been hiding this? I stood up and walked to the window, watching a private helicopter land on a nearby building's helipad. My helicopter, actually, one of 3 I owned. Remember when I moved to that tiny studio apartment in Brooklyn? When I first started with my digital art nonsense? That was... He paused, calculating. 15 years ago. That's right. Everyone thought I was crazy, throwing away my finance degree to doodle on computers, as Dad called it. But what none of you knew was that I had already sold my first NFT collection for $50,000. $50,000, back then? And 6 months later I sold another for $200,000. By the time Dad was telling everyone at Christmas dinner that I was going through a phase, I had my first million. I could almost hear him doing the math in his head. But you still borrowed money from Mom and Dad for rent. You drove that beat-up Honda until last year. I never borrowed money from them, Marcus. I asked them to invest in my company. They refused, loudly and repeatedly. The Honda was a choice, not a necessity, just like this penthouse was a choice, and the private jet, and everything else I kept hidden from all of you. Private jet? His voice cracked. Jesus, Sophia, how rich are you exactly? I smiled, remembering all the family dinners where they treated me like the poor relative, the way our younger sister Olivia would ostentatiously pick up the check, making sure everyone knew she was helping out her struggling artist sister. The Forbes article will say $3.8 billion, but that's a conservative estimate. The real number is closer to 5. The sound Marcus made was somewhere between a gasp and a choke. Now if you'll excuse me, I continued, I have a board meeting to attend. Oh, and Marcus? I'll see you at the family reunion. I'm thinking of making quite an entrance. I hung up before he could respond and pressed the intercom. Sarah, is everything set for the reunion? Yes, Miss Sullivan. The jet is fueled and ready. The car service is arranged for all family members to be picked up in Rolls-Royces. The venue has been updated to the private island as requested, and the NDAs have been prepared for all staff. Perfect. I picked up the reunion invitation again. For 15 years I played the role they expected. The artistic black sheep who couldn't handle the real world. The daughter who needed constant reminders about financial responsibility. The sister who was pitied and patronized at every family gathering. But not this time. My phone buzzed with a text from my youngest sister. Olivia calling, please tell me this Forbes thing is a joke. What's going on? I left it unanswered. Olivia, who never failed to mention her 6-figure salary at every family gathering. Olivia, who loved to reminisce about how she'd made it, while her big sister was still finding herself. The intercom buzzed again. Miss Sullivan, your parents are both online too? Tell them I'm in a meeting. And Sarah, call the helipad. I think I'll take the chopper to the board meeting today. As I gathered my things, my mind wandered back to the day that started it all. The day I decided to hide my success from my family. $3.8 billion? My father's voice cracked through the phone, the disbelief in his tone making me smile as 15 years of condescension finally shattered in an instant. I savored the sweet taste of vindication washing over me. I was standing in my home office, watching the chaos unfold on my multiple screens. The Forbes article had dropped at exactly 6 a.m. Eastern Time, and I was already awake, sipping coffee, savoring the moment. Digital art revolutionary: how Sophia Sullivan built a multi-billion-dollar empire in secret. The headline was accompanied by a photo I'd specifically chosen for this moment. Me standing in front of my most successful NFT collection, wearing clothes that cost more than my sister Olivia's monthly salary. The article didn't just reveal my wealth, It detailed every success I had hidden for 15 years. My phone exploded with notifications. First came the family group chat. Olivia, is this for real? $3,800,000,000? Marcus, I tried to warn you all yesterday. Mom, Sophia, please answer your phone. Dad, this must be some kind of mistake. Aunt Patricia, just saw the article. Is our Sophia, the Sophia Sullivan? Sophia. Sophia. Guess what? Aunt, I'm sorry, this must be some kind of mistake. I muted the chat and pulled up my emails. Hundreds of interview requests from major news outlets. Investment opportunities, speaking engagements. But one email caught my eye. From my father's business partner, Albert Chen. Sophia, I believe we need to discuss potential synergies between Sullivan Investments and your digital art platforms. Your father may have mentioned some concerns, but I assure you we can be quite flexible. I couldn't help but laugh. 3 years ago I'd approached his firm about a partnership. Albert had personally shown me the door, saying they didn't deal in internet pictures. My intercom buzzed. Miss Sullivan, your mother is in the lobby, she's quite insistent. I checked a security feed. There was my mother, Elena Sullivan, still perfectly put together in her designer suit, but with an unfamiliar wildness in her eyes as she argued with the security guard. Let her up, I sighed. It was time to face at least one member of my family. The private elevator opened directly into my penthouse. My mother stepped out, then froze, taking in her surroundings, the vast open space, the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park, the original Basquiat on the wall that probably cost more than their house. Sophia, she breathed, her voice unsteady. What is all this? This is my home, Mom, the real one, not the small apartment I keep for family visits. She walked to the window, her heel clicks echoing on the marble floor. How did you? 15 years, I said, pouring her a cup of coffee, since the day Dad said my digital art would never amount to anything. She turned, her face a mixture of confusion and hurt. But you struggled. We saw the tiny apartment, the old car, borrowing money for rent. I never borrowed money, I corrected her. I asked you and Dad to invest in my company. There's a difference. And everything else, the apartment, the car, that was all just theater. Peter, her voice rose. You've been lying to us for 15 years. No, Mom, I just let you see what you wanted to see. You all were so convinced I was failing that you never bothered to look closer. She sank into one of my Italian leather chairs, looking suddenly old. Does anyone else know, in the family? No one. Well, Marcus found out yesterday when the press release went out. I suppose he tried to warn you. She nodded weakly. He called, but your father was sure it was a mistake. Some other Sophia Sullivan. I walked to my desk and pulled out a file. Here's something that might interest you. The investment opportunity I tried to present to Dad 3 years ago. If he had invested the $1 million I asked for, his share would be worth roughly $100 million today. Her hands trembled as she took the file. He said you wanted a handout, that you were too proud to admit your art wasn't working out. And you believed him, just like you believed him about my struggling artist life? I shook my head. Tell me, Mom, in 15 years did any of you ever actually come to one of my shows, check out my work, even Google my name? She couldn't meet my eyes. That's what I thought. I walked to the window, looking down at the city I now partially owned. The annual family reunion is in 2 days. I've made some changes to the arrangements. Changes? I bought out the entire resort where it was supposed to be held, too public. Instead, everyone will be picked up by my private cars and taken to my jet. We'll be having the reunion on my island. Your island? In the Caribbean. I bought it last year when I closed my first billion-dollar deal. I turned to face her. Mom, this time I won't be the one sitting quietly while everyone talks about their successes. This time, I have some things to say. She stood up, smoothing her skirt with shaking hands. Your father, when he sees all this, he'll finally have to admit that his little girl playing with computer pictures built something bigger than his entire family legacy. I smiled. And that's just the beginning. I walked her to the elevator, but before she could step in I added one last thing. Oh, and Mom, that Bentley you've been dreaming about but Dad says is too expensive. I bought 3 last month. Just because I could. The elevator doors closed on her shocked face. You've been lying to us for 15 years? My mother gasped, her voice rising to a pitch I'd never heard before, her perfectly manicured hand trembling as she took in the marble floors and Basquiat painting that cost more than their family home. As soon as she was gone I called my assistant. Sarah, is everything ready for the reunion? Yes, Miss Sullivan. The island staff is prepared. The documentation packages have been assembled for each family member, showing exactly when they dismissed your investment opportunities and what those shares would be worth today. And the video presentation of your success timeline is ready. Perfect. I picked up my phone and finally replied to the family group chat with a single message. Looking forward to seeing everyone at the reunion. Dress appropriately for a private island. Transportation will be provided. Then I opened my laptop to check the market. The Forbes article had sent my company's stock soaring. Another billion added to my net worth before breakfast. I thought about my father probably sitting in his office right now, trying to understand how his failing daughter had quietly become one of the richest people in the country. About my sister Olivia, who loved to brag about her six-figure salary and vacation home in the Hamptons, realizing I could buy her entire life with what I made in interest each day. The reunion was going to be interesting. Very interesting indeed. My phone buzzed again, a message from my father. We need to meet before the reunion. Family matters should be discussed privately. I typed back, everything will be discussed at the reunion, Dad. After all, isn't that what family reunions are for? Sharing our successes? Then I called Sarah again. Contact the design team. I want the island's helipad repainted before the reunion, and make sure my name is visible from the air when they land. Already done, Miss Sullivan. Anything else? I thought about 15 years of condescension, of pity, of being treated like the family failure. Yes, make sure the Forbes article is framed and hanging in every room of the island resort. I want it to be the first thing they see no matter where they turn. As I hung up, I caught my reflection in the window. Successful, powerful, and finally ready to show my family exactly who I had become, while they were busy doubting me. The countdown to the reunion had begun.